Shut your mouth.
What you say?
I will not divulge what you just said.
Then my phone beeps at me. No, what you say?
Nope, I ain't saying it.
You're no fun. Oh, it's Tuesday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lords of the Night. With me, as always, is the Lord of Pennies, Satsu 2 cents.
What up, though?
And I'm your host, Scribe, the Lord of Punishment. Hello, everyone. Hello, chat. Hope you're all doing well today, this wonderful Tuesday. Well, I hope it's wonderful, although given some of the news, it might not be wonderful for some people. Before the stream started, thank you, Point Curation, develop art, be well. Well, what we do here is a kind of art. It's the art of conversation, right?
Yeah.
I pulled that one out of thin air. Anyway, Satsu, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. No complaints here.
All right, well, keeping it short and sweet, I suppose.
Mhm.
As for myself, it was a busy work day in the sense that I had to do a bunch of different stuff and then had to have a surprise phone conference that got rescheduled because the thing in the morning said it's going to be on Thursday. And then I got a message in the middle of the day saying, why aren't you logged into the phone conference? And I'm like, what do you mean? What phone conference? The conference about the thing. And I said, the thing is on Thursday. He says, no, it was rescheduled this morning. It was rescheduled like 5 minutes after I first read the notice. So I was like, what? So anyway, one of my coworkers is going to be on vacation, apparently, and that conflicted with things. So they moved it up to today. And so I did stuff, did things, and that. And what else? Got a little bit of writing done. A little bit.
A little bit more.
Right? A little bit more. Right? Well, I mean, more and refining what I'd already written because, revising is a OCD kind of thing with writers and such. So there's that. But other than that, I guess that's all the exciting stuff. So Monkey Dick, Jim Jones, movies, video games, hit that like button if you have not already. And many of you haven't, because why would you bother? I don't know. And please share our stuff. Share it far, wide, sideways, and otherwise. Said it before, we'll say it again. YouTube does a very poor job of letting people know that we exist. We, as in being content creators, especially smaller ones. So if there's a content creator you appreciate, whether it's us or someone else, please be sure to let people know that you like them by liking the videos and sharing the channels and all that good stuff. And thank you, tall person. You have lived another day, a day not only of sight and sound, but of mind, a day that begets a journey into a wondrous land of imagination. Happy National Twilight Zone Day. Oh my God. Twilight Zone. What's your favorite Twilight Zone episode, Satsu?
The one where the thing happened.
Yes. The one that's most memorable to me, well, there's two actually. One from the old series and one from the reboot they did in the 80s, I think it was. In the old series, and I forget it's called Penny for Your Thoughts. And it's about a guy who's going to work one day and he goes to buy the newspaper and he throws a quarter into the guy's box, the change box, and the quarter lands on its edge. And all of a sudden, this guy's got psychic, he can read minds. As long as that coin's on his edge, he's got read minds. And I always liked that one for some reason. It was a very, very concise little story. It also carries over into a different movie, a movie called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. But I won't tell you why it leads into that because that'd be telling. The other one is, again, I think it was from the reboot in the 80s. And the title of it is called Need to Know. And it has to do with someone discovers a piece of information and everybody that he tells it to goes insane with the revelation of something. And this leads into a whole bunch of interesting conundrum. You can actually find that episode on YouTube if you look it up because it's like a It's very brief. The Twilight Zone episodes back then were only like 20 minutes without commercials, so you can find it. Just look up Need to Know Twilight Zone. You can watch it. And you might recognize a face or two because some of the actors there went on to do much bigger things. But anyway, that's all reminiscing on my part. Anything else to mention before we get into the snooze, Satsu?
Nah, bruh.
You were so contributing to the show tonight. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you want me to lie? I can lie.
No, not lie. Just elaborate. That's all. You know,
I do not have anything to add to the story.
How is Squeetus? Tell us a Squeetus story.
Me and Squishy we kind of got caught up watching newborn videos of her again today.
Mm-hmm.
And she was being a little weirdo. So I showed her my phone earlier of a picture of her when she was screaming. And she ran away. Like she was like running away, and then she started like rubbing her hands on her ears, and I'm like, oh no, that's you. Like, don't you run away like you don't want to hear it. That's you screaming like a psychopath. Don't you run.
Did you recognize yourself yet?
So that was a good time. And she was she's getting to the point to where she's actually trying to who is this, my mom calling me?
Better be that, not a vibrator.
Nah, this is my mom calling me, where she's like actually trying to sing the songs on Bubble Guppies now. But what it is her just yelling the word that she recognizes when it comes up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something.
And it's really funny.
Talk to your mother.
Yeah, let me get this.
Yeah, mute yourself, talk to your mother, and I'll start this show. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the wonderful world of the news. And don't play a video. Don't. I'm going to mute it just in case. Yeah, no. Okay. So, if you guys didn't know or hadn't already heard, gasoline demand spikes in several states after pipeline hack. Let's see. A growing number of gas stations along the East Coast are without fuel as nervous drivers aggressively fill up their tanks following a ransomware attack that shut down the Colonial Pipeline, a critical artery for gasoline. The panic buying threatens to exacerbate the supply shock. That's an interesting sentence. The panic buying threatens to exacerbate the supply shock. As of 4 p.m. Eastern Tuesday, 8.5% of gas stations in North Carolina and 7.7% in Virginia didn't have gasoline, according to outage figures reported by GasBuddy, an app that tracks fuel prices and demand. The Virginia figure was flat from 11 a.m. Eastern, while North Carolina was up from 5.8% previously. Now, I'd seen somewhere that people were denying reports that there were lines at gas stations or something. I don't know if that'll come up in the story, but I saw bits and pieces on Twitter today. Rising outages are also being reported at gas stations in Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, according to GasBuddy. This is just one big advertisement for GasBuddy, isn't it? Which collects user reports and shares the information with the government during emergencies. This really is just an ad for them, isn't it? Quote, panicked buying, unquote, is, quote, running stations in the region dry, said Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, told this CNN Business. GasBuddy, 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 GasBuddy. GasBuddy, GasBuddy. He warned that the irrational behavior could prolong supply issues for weeks. Tiffany Wright of AAA Carolinas criticized what she described as irresponsible behavior at the pump. Quote, people are taking their entire family fleet of vehicles to the gas station and filling up when they don't need to, Wright told CNN's Diane Gallagher. We are our own worst enemy in the situation because we are over-consuming at the pump. So is gasoline the new toilet paper? Is that where we're at now? I'm assuming so. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people in Lawton. Hello, Kyle. Let's see. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm pleaded with Americans not to hoard gas as the pipeline attempts to resume operations. Quote, let me emphasize that much as there was no cause for, say, hoarding toilet paper at the beginning of the pandemic, there should be no cause for hoarding gasoline, unquote. Granholm said during the Tuesday's White House press briefing. Quote, especially in light of the fact that the pipeline should be substantially operational by the end of this week and over the weekend. Should be substantially. What does that mean? Demand for information on gasoline availability is so intense that GasBuddy itself experienced outages. DeHaan told CNN the platform is experiencing, quote, slowdowns, unquote, because of extreme traffic, so users may experience periodic timeouts on its website and app. That website and app is also called GasBuddy, everyone. U.S. gasoline demand jumped 20% on Monday compared with the prior week, according to GasBuddy. Jesus. Does CNN own stock in this thing? Oh, sorry, I mean shock in this thing? Holy cats. I can't get past GasBuddy. Every sentence in just 5 states served by Colonial Pipeline, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, demand was up by a collective 40.1%. GasBuddy said. I should rename the stream to GasBuddy. Quote, I got scared that I could not go to work or take my daughters to school. Florida resident Linderly Bedoya told CNN on Tuesday, quote, all the gas stations in my area were without gas, and when I finally found one, I had to stay an hour in line, and I had to fill up with the premium unleaded, unquote. And I found that gas station using GasBuddy. Right? Bedoya posted a photo on Twitter of a sign from a gas station in Tallahassee that warns drivers only premium fuel is available. GasBuddy lists similar outages impacting less than 1% of the gas stations in Alabama and Tennessee. The national price at the pump ticked up to $2.985 on Tuesday, the highest level in nearly 6 years, according to AAA. Investors are taking the supply shock in stride. Supply shock. Is it supply stock? RBOB gasoline futures are little changed from Friday. GasBuddy. I'm just going to end every sentence in every paragraph of the show, the stories tonight with GasBuddy. Or according to GasBuddy. Let's see. Do we have any other GasBuddies in here? North it's price going to Barry Cooper and Environmental Protection Agency. Oh my God, they didn't mention GasBuddy at all in the last section. Boy, oh boy, they must not have paid their advertising bills. Thank you, Ex-Bubba Hotep. Also, did we mention GasBuddy? Yeah, well, I mean, GasBuddy. Satsu, if you're talking, I can't hear you, but I don't know. Maybe you're still on the phone with Mom. I hope everything's okay. And Mom's not calling because something bad happened. So I will continue in the absence of Satsu's input. I can fly solo. I've done it before. I continue to do it all the time. Man charged in hate crime assault on Asian woman in New York City pleads not guilty, held on $1 million bond. Let's see. Oops. Let me get over here to this. Shoehorn Aplenty, thank you so much. What's the name of the app again? Why, that would be GasBuddy, Shoehorn Aplenty. Your source for gas prices and gas availability across the world. Or at least in the South. Not sure which. Whoops. Clicking all over the place. A man charged in a... Can I make this go away? Can I make this go away here? And there we go. How about that? A man charged in a hate crime assault on an Asian woman in New York City in March pleaded not guilty and is being held on a $1 million bond, according to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Brandon Elliott, 38, was arraigned virtually on Monday in the state Supreme Court, according to Manhattan DA spokeswoman Naomi Pizzello. Quote, Judge Maxwell Wiley set bail in the amount of $500,000 cash or $1 million insurance company bond or $1 million bond surety partially secured, said Pizzello. Okay, I'll not claim to know the particulars of how New York bonding works. I said bonding, by the way. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Is GasBuddy interrupting Scribe? Yes. It's telling me how the gas prices are, even though I don't drive or really ever buy gas, so it doesn't really affect me. But you know, I keep GasBuddy around anyway because it's GasBuddy. Elliott is accused of punching and kicking a 65-year-old Asian woman in Midtown Manhattan on March 29th. The brazen attack was captured on video and released by authorities. The video, which seems to be from the vantage point of a camera inside the apartment complex on 360 West 43rd Street, appears to show onlookers not reacting to the attack as the woman is kicked repeatedly in broad daylight. Elliot approached the woman and yelled, "Fuck you, you don't belong here, you Asian," unquote, before knocking her to the ground and striking her several times, according to the criminal complaint. The woman is of Filipino descent. The complaint states she was treated at New York City Hospital, where she suffered from a fracture to her pelvis, forehead contusions, and contusion to her body, according to the complaint. The incident comes at a time when New York and cities across the U.S. have seen an increase in reports of attacks against Asian people, or just an increase in the publicization. Increase in the reporting of these things. Whether or not they were increasing themselves, it's hard to tell. Elliot served 17 years in state prison for stabbing his mother to death, the NYPD told CNN. He was released on lifetime parole in November 2019. I got a feeling he's going back and not coming out again. The legal aids, why was he stabbed his mother to death and only got 17 years? Really? All right. The Legal Aid Society, which represents Elliot, confirmed his plea, but would not provide further comment. The next court date is set for July 14th, where decisions on motions will be made, added Pozzello. Okay. Well, stabbing your mother to death gets you 17 years. I thought you got you minimum 25. But then I don't know what he was convicted of. So, yeah. How about we not let him out again? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe he's shown that he can't be trusted out in the real world. Might be an idea. Also, I have to bring it up because Lord knows it would be brought up if it was otherwise. If our attacker here had been something other than a black man, I'm pretty sure we would have heard about it very, very specifically. But again, in the reversal of them trying to play it safe, CNN is reporting things as they should, in that the motive is relevant. The skin color of the person is not necessarily so. But anyway, moving on from that, here was the other big news of the day. Satsu, are you there? Okay, I'm assuming Satsu is quite occupied. Again, I'm hoping everything's okay with Mama. Nothing crazy is going on. Israel ramps up airstrikes as barrage of rockets from Gaza continues. Tensions between Israelis and Palestinians escalated further on Tuesday as Palestinian militants in Gaza fired hundreds of rockets into Israel, which in turn ramped up airstrikes on the coastal enclave as unrest spread to cities and towns beyond Jerusalem. As both sides traded airstrikes on Tuesday evening, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation from Tel Aviv saying, quote, "We are in the midst of a significant operation," unquote. Israeli bombing raids across Gaza have killed at least 32 people, including 10 children, according to Palestinian health officials, who also said 203 people had been injured. The Israeli military said it had killed more than 15 militants. Meanwhile, in Israel, sirens wailed nonstop on Tuesday in the town of Ashkelon, where 2 people were killed by rocket fire, according to an Israeli military spokesman. A third person died in the town of Rishon LeZion, south of Tel Aviv on Tuesday evening after a rocket attack, Israeli media reported, citing the Zaka emergency service. A CNN team heard at least 50 explosions in the coastal town near Gaza, and rocket fire was also reported in the city of Ashdod. At least 17 Israeli civilians have been treated for injuries from rocket attacks. A 13-story tower block in Gaza City collapsed on Tuesday night after it was hit by an Israeli airstrike, drawing vows of retaliation from militants. A 13-story... Okay. The Israeli Defense Forces said in a statement that the building contained offices used by Hamas across several floors, including intelligence offices of its military wing and a research and development unit working on rockets. The IDF also said it provided, quote, advance warning to civilians in the building and provided sufficient time for them to evacuate the site, unquote. There are reports that one person on a nearby street was injured in the building's collapse. Hamas and Islamic Jihad promised to retaliate by firing rockets at Tel Aviv, and shortly before 9 p.m., sirens went off across the city and surrounding towns. The Izz-ad-Din al-Qassam, the military wing of Hamas, later said the militant group had targeted Tel Aviv with 130 rockets on Tuesday night. A statement shared on WhatsApp read, yes, but what does Gas Buddy have to say? 7 people, including a 5-year-old child, were injured when a rocket struck a bus in Holon, south of Tel Aviv, according to Israeli media. In the past 2 days, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza have fired at least 500 rockets into Israel, forcing the closure of Israel's main international airport, Ben Gurion, about 15 kilometers east of Tel Aviv. The militants say it is a response to the actions of Israeli police who fired stun grenades inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Aqsa Mosque, I thought it was the Al-Aqsa Mosque, in Jerusalem, one of the city's holiest sites, on Monday morning. Hundreds of Palestinians went to hospitals for treatment after ensuing clashes with Israeli police in the most serious violence seen in the city in weeks. Quote, "We have the right to respond to the Israeli offensive and protect the interests of our people as long as the Israeli occupation continues the escalation," unquote, Hamas said in a statement. The Israeli military has conducted more than 150 strikes in Gaza as of Tuesday afternoon, according to a military spokesman who said Israel has also called up 5,000 reserve troops to active duty to enhance its operation in Gaza. I could go on, but I think you get the point. Yeah, I mean, a part of the world that's never been exactly stable is decidedly very unstable again and continues to be. I don't have enough reference to make a whole lot of comment on it. I don't live there and I don't know all the politics, but the closest I ever came to trying to understand some of what fuels this was a great documentary PBS put out several years. I think it was a Frontline documentary or something, and it's called An Elusive Peace, I think it was called, and it dealt with the chain of events, or at least this little window of time from when the Arafat and I forget what the name of the Israeli prime minister was at the time. Anyway, they all went off to Camp David with Bill Clinton back in the day. And it kind of starts from there and tells the progression of events in the Middle East from then through, I think, just the beginning of Obama's administration, something like that. And just seeing the politics and the moves and the hypocrisies on both sides of the aisle throughout that time was just, it's kind of a depressing thing to watch, but it is very informative. Satsu, is Mama Satsu okay?
Yeah, she's fine. She was just talking to me about a family situation. All is well, guys. All is well.
I've gone through hate crime, Asian attack in New York, and now on to rocket attacks in the Middle East.
Hawaii. Oh yeah, all the classics.
Yes, all the classics. So yeah, that's a wonderful thing going on in the world, here, there, and otherwise. But let's move on to things more close to home. No, unemployment benefits aren't the problem. I'm trying to think. Were unemployment benefits ever a problem?
I think they're responding to Biden's statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in the sense that unemployment benefits are incentivizing people not to work. Maybe that's
right.
The thing. Okay. Let's see. America's job market is in a weird spot. It's still millions of jobs short of where it was before the pandemic, but businesses complain they can't find staff. Opponents of enhanced unemployment benefits during COVID say the government aid is so cushy, the jobless don't want to return to work. On the surface, that argument has some merit. The jobless benefits Congress bolstered at the start of the pandemic have been extended until September. Now, though, people are getting vaccinated and employers want their laid-off employees to come back. That should be a recipe for success, yet the pace of job growth came in at a disappointing 266,000 in April, far less than analysts expected, which means the analysts don't know what they're talking about.
Clearly, because that has to be what you're building up to, right?
Yeah, I just love it when it's like, well, it came in like, it was supposed to be 1 million jobs. It came in at like a quarter of that. So every analyst that said it was going to be 1 million jobs, maybe you should rethink having them on staff. You know, kind of like how everybody was like, oh, Hillary's going to win this in a landslide. And yet everybody seemed to keep their jobs after that. For critics of the pandemic-era jobless aid, the connection here is obvious. Benefits are making life too comfortable for the unemployed to go out and find a job. But it's not that simple. Oh, you don't say. You don't say. It's more complicated than that? Oh, my God. The money to fund these benefits has already been allocated by Congress and is out of the door. What's more important now is that Americans, jobless or not, spend the cash in their wallets to help the nation along on its road to recovery. The U.S. economy runs on consumer spending, and every dollar in every wallet counts. Sorry, every dollar in every wallet counts. I read it correctly as if it had been edited correctly the first time, but then I had to go back and read it incorrectly. While pundits are arguing, Americans are on the same page. Consumer confidence is soaring. Retail sales jumped in March, and gross domestic product, the broadest measure of economic activity, is on pace for a super strong 11% annual growth rate this quarter, according to the Atlanta Fed. What did the Atlanta Fed say about potential job gains?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not trying to be a smarty pants here, but I mean, if you're relying on the same people who say the million jobs are coming, in this strange pandemic environment, we shouldn't be screaming in agony about any particular jobs report. Well, if it had been a million jobs, would they have been crowing about it?
Yeah. If it had actually either met or exceeded expectations, then you'd be losing your fucking shit about it. Talking about how our Lord and Savior made this happen.
We should, however, be jumping for joy when GDP is growing strong, because that's the tide that lifts all boats. And in this case, the extra unemployment insurance is doing its job. But the unemployment insurance is not a recipe for long-term sustainable growth. So reasons to stay home, aside from the fact that everybody lost their jobs because everybody locked down and prevented people from making a living. The Biden administration-backed American Rescue Plan extended the pandemic jobless aid that provides a weekly additional $300 until September. The stimulus plan also extended the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program for the self-employed and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program that funds benefits after individuals have exhausted their state benefits. .mi. Is that a website I'm supposed to go to? Is it like a secret or something? Is there an Easter egg there? Or did somebody not edit their copy? Several states announced that they would end the pandemic programs before the official expiry date, the expiry in September, including Montana, South Carolina, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, and North Dakota. Why didn't you put those in alphabetical order?
Because
why be all over the place? All of these states except Mississippi have a lower unemployment rate than the national average as of March, according to the government data. President Joe Biden defended the effectiveness of the pandemic program because he has absolutely no reason to otherwise. In the past days, saying, quote, "The law is clear. If you are receiving unemployment benefits and you're offered a suitable job, you can't refuse that job and just keep getting the unemployment benefits," unquote. I hope he clarifies that in a second. Thank you, Mike R. Also, Gas Buddy. Yeah, Satsu, you weren't here for the article that was basically an ad for Gas Buddy. Do you know about Gas Buddy?
I'm sure you're about to tell me about gas.
Well, Satsu, I'm glad you don't know, because I can tell you. I'm happy. I'm so excited to tell you about Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy is an app that tells you about gas prices and gas availability nationwide.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is the backbone of CNN's information on gas prices and availability nationwide. What's that app again? Gas Buddy.
Uh-huh.
Because the article I read at the top of the show, every fucking paragraph mentioned Gas Buddy for the first 3 quarters of the article. According to Gas Buddy, sources from Gas Buddy, the CEO of Gas Buddy. It was insane. It was just like, I asked, does CNN own stock in this thing? Because holy cats.
So otherwise, in other words, the struggle is real.
Yes, and this will become a running joke, at least for this episode of Lords of the Night. Gas Buddy. Let's see, and thank you, Andrew Joyner. It's petrol, not gas. We threw off the shackles of your royal ass to call it gas. Thank you, Andrew Joyner. We went through a whole revolution so that we could call it gas and not conform to your silly words for things. Petrol, calling a trunk a boot. You know what I'm talking about. Limey. Thank you, Andrew. Some people are, however, better off collecting those extra unemployment insurance than working. Maybe unemployment checks would make more sense. Those extra unemployment.
I always love how CNN articles like they start off with a definitive stance on something, and all throughout the article, you're like, okay, so what is your position here?
Thank you again, X Bubba Hotep, Gas Buddy, Lord of Petroleum. Ooh!
Oh.
Can we have an abstract Lord of the Night? Maybe only for this episode.
The chat voted for it, so.
Yeah, apparently so. And thank you, Chicago Mike. I'm surprised that Scribe knows about Gas Buddy since he doesn't have a car nor a smartphone. Well, you know, I would be completely bereft of knowledge of Gas Buddy if it weren't for CNN telling me over and over and over and over and over and over again about the efficacy of Gas Buddy. Okay, some people are, however, better off collecting those extra unemployment insurance than working. You don't say. Research from Bank of America supports the argument that too much unemployment aid keeps people from looking for work, but only if the workers in question previously made less than $32,000 per year, which is less than half the national median income. Quote, our estimates suggest that those who previously made less than $32,000 a year would be better off in the near term to collect UI benefits than work. Well, then they will, I guess. So,
once again, though, I'm just like, so are you saying that that is the problem?
Quote, the more generous unemployment insurance would benefit workers in low-wage occupations such as food preparation and services and personal care services, all sectors where employees have flagged difficulties in hiring and retaining workers, unquote, they said. Yeah, pretty much because of the pandemic and the lockdown and county to county, state to state, the sometimes Byzantine rules and regulations on who can work and at what times and in what way and for how long, on and on and on. I'm looking at you, California, you know, and then the whole thing of, well, okay, Uncle Joe, what counts as a suitable job? And if the suitable job pays less than the unemployment benefits I'm getting, why would I take it?
Because it's the right thing to do.
Let's see. But there's a problem with that argument. This disincentive should evaporate in September when the government's aid boost expires. Now, do you want to take any bets that it gets extended again?
Well, even if it doesn't, like this person, it's seeming like they're setting up for an argument that when it does expire, because it's about to expire, then there will be no change in the job rate. Job rates won't go up because the reason wasn't because of the benefits.
Right.
That's what it seems like they're trying to build up to. But I mean, we know that's not true.
And many people really need those benefits because they don't have the choice about whether to return to work. For workers with care obligations, be it for children or older relatives, leaving the house for hours might just not be an option as long as the care infrastructure isn't fully up and running again. Last September, when schools started again, hundreds of thousands of women dropped out of the labor force due to childcare obligations, for example. Benefits weren't the reason. Wait, why women? Isn't that sexist?
Not in this context, just because it's convenient.
Oh, okay. Another problem with blaming UI benefits for the weak jobs report. You just told it that, okay, it might not be the only factor, but it's definitely a big one. It's just one data point, not a trend. Okay, I'll give you that. And diving deeper into the numbers doesn't support the argument that low-income people are waiting on the sidelines. All right, then what else was happening? The government's tally of jobs added the economy underperformed economists' expectations by more than 700,000 jobs last month, you don't say. But the leisure and hospitality industry added 331,000 positions, which brings its pandemic-era job growth to 5.4 million. And yet employment in the industry, which was hit hardest at the start of the pandemic, is still down 2.8 million compared with February 2020. You know, it's interesting that, and I'd have to do some research, which I'm probably not going to do, that in this instance, they'll take one data point and say, this isn't enough information to make a judgment on the cause. And yet when it comes to the gender wage gap, it's always one data point that they sit on.
Yeah. Just
Making the
one
argument.
solitary data point that they say will tell you definitively what this means based on this one data point. And there's no other alternatives, by the way. This is literal only answer.
And here's the other thing too, and I'm gonna move on after this. The section here, making sense of the jobs report. You would think, or maybe I'm just thinking, that all of the analysts that predicted 1 million jobs had access to this same information that, in retrospect, explains everything, according to our author, before the jobs report came out. That they could have made a prediction that was much more conservative than the 1 million jobs they apparently all said.
One would assume, sure.
Yeah, so hindsight being 2020. Anyway, things are as they are, and Satsu's still clearing his throat.
Shut up.
I mean, you're not even talking that much, and you're clearing your throat. Is it nervous? Are you like stage fright or something? Some kind of like a neurotic tick or something?
I don't know, but it's interfering with me being able to record videos. Like I haven't been able to record a video in so long because it happens so much during my recording. So I don't know.
Does it happen when you're like just sitting around doing nothing?
No, it's like I said, I don't know. Like if you've ever been sick before and maybe you got like a runny nose or something, and like right at the back of your throat, you feel like it feels like there's like liquid back there or something, you know? And every now and then you got to like clear. I feel like that all day. Like that's a feeling that I feel all day, every day for some reason. And the more I talk, the worse it gets. And I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know what to fucking do about it. When I drink hot things, or like if I eat ramen or I drink like hot tea or something like that, it'll clear up. But otherwise, like it's just something that fucking bugs and bothers me all day. And then I can't record videos because I get annoyed or aggravated because I have a good kind of run going, and then that'll happen. It's just this. I don't know. I wish I could explain to you what it is, but it didn't start until spring started. So,
JB's got your solution there on the screen. Satsu has the coof. If only he had listened to Gas Buddy.
Damn you, Gas Buddy.
Gas Buddy. Anyway, everyone, we're going to move on to the wonderful world of MSS News. So if you have news stories you'd like us to read on the air, please send them to us via Twitter using the hashtag MSS News. Can't promise to get to them all, but that's because we'll probably be caught on one story or another, and I'll get long-winded and just keep talking about it, and so on and so forth. This story, if it decides to actually come up, there we go, will be coming to us from Beaver Dam. And a big, I hate these. Why? Why is this big thing up at the top here blocking my view? Here, can I do this? Fuck that. Yay! Okay. People aren't addicted to wearing masks. They're traumatized.
I wonder who did that. Could it have been the people fear-mongering for fucking months?
This is by Shayla Love. That might be a real name. That sounds like an alias. I'm saying. There's a glaring omission from the discussion about why some can't quit pandemic behaviors, the mental and emotional toll of the last year, or being mentally conditioned by the media and fearmongers into being scared of everyone and everything and cleaning every surface and disinfecting your eyeballs and everything else. Around a month ago, Lauren Albanese went to the mall with her uncle and dad. It was the first time since the pandemic began that the 27-year-old from Staten Island had been around people outside her household. Really? I mean, I don't know what the Staten Island rules were, but she hadn't left the house for a whole year. Like literally a whole year. Okay. As they entered, Albanese froze. All the people around her seemed to move in slow motion. Drama alert. Her dad spoke to her, but she couldn't hear his words. Quote, "My body completely shut down, triggered by simply being around people," she said. Quote, "I still feel like I don't have control over myself and how my body reacts after everything that's happened," unquote. Okay, first and foremost, do I believe that this 27-year-old literally stayed at home and did not leave the house or the immediate area for an entire year? Not to go to the store, not to go for a walk. I mean, nothing. It was the first time since the pandemic began that the 27-year-old from Sandlot had been around people outside her household. Okay. Albanese tested positive for COVID-19 3 days after her grandmother died on April 8th, 2020. Quote, not a day goes by when I don't think about the events that took place over a year ago, Albanese said. Visual memories flood her mind. The difficulty of picking up her grandmother's ashes due to crematory backlogs, getting extremely sick herself while trying to grieve, the inability to have a funeral, her grandma's assisted living facility dumping all of her grandmother's possessions, including her grandfather's ashes, into boxes. Okay, when she left the hospital the day her grandma died and saw a line of people outside the hospital who weren't permitted to enter. Quote, they just wanted to be near the building that housed their loved ones, Albanese said. Needless to say, it hasn't been easy for Albanese to adjust, quote, back to normal, unquote. And as the United States improves its COVID-19 situation, with daily case numbers a fraction of what they were during the January peak, largely due to vaccinations, there's been a small but vocal backlash against those who, like Albanese, aren't swiftly shaking off the events or newly acquired safety behaviors of the past year.
It was interesting. Interesting how we should talk about and discuss the backlash against people who aren't not doing it. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't worth talking about the backlash against the people who were, not taking, are just like not wearing fucking 3 to 4 masks everywhere they go or whatever. Like the ridicule and the way that some of those people were even attacked in public or whatever wasn't a discussion worth having. It's like, oh, fuck them. But now we're just like, oh, but these people, they're traumatized. Oh, yeah, it'll be fine.
As I'm reading this, I'm going like, all right, this is a you problem. It might be the result in part of things you had no control over, and dying loved ones and being restricted from doing things and the state. I mean, I'm not going to begrudge anybody who has had problems or gotten all fucked over one way or the other by different jurisdictions doing different things that have made people's lives a living hell the last year. I'm not going to begrudge you that. But at the same time, there's a limit to where I'm like, okay, you need to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, it makes me not feel bad for these people even more when I know that they've been chanting like a fucking cult for the past several months. Mm-hmm. Listen to the experts. Listen to the experts. And then the experts are like, all right, guys, it's cool. And they're like, fuck them. They don't know what they're talking about. Panic.
Thanks, Ex-Bubba Hotep. Wait, she got COVID in April 2020 and still didn't leave her house for a year. That's her story. She hadn't been around any people outside her household since the pandemic began. So presumably since around the time that she got sick. Now, again, I will extend a reasonable amount of sympathy. If you got sick at the start of this, when nobody knew anything about the end-all be-all of what it meant, okay, and all the information you were getting back, forth, contradictory and otherwise, was from the government, and your grandmother having died, and maybe, I don't know that they said that was the cause of it, but either way, I could see somebody internalizing all the paranoia and fear from the officials in the world and not knowing what to do. Okay, so maybe this lady really is that much of a victim of all the nonsense going around. But do I actually believe that at this point, still early in the vaccination process across the country, that she is being demeaned and ridiculed for wearing a mask or not being comfortable going outside to the extent that it's going to be some kind of problem? I have a hard time thinking that.
Most places still mandate it, and a lot of stores and other places still require it. So I find that very hard to believe. But
even with vaccinations, they say you still have to wear a mask amongst groups of people and all this other stuff, which again just defies logic if vaccinations are supposed to be the thing that starts making it not necessary to do that. But either way, I'm not going to keep reading this because I half believe the story, but I also don't believe the half that's important to the story. So,
well, I do think it's funny. I saw a meme that was like, you fucking idiots, if you guys would have just worn your mask like you were supposed to, we would have been a maskless society already. And it's just like, all right, guys, it's time for you to take off your mask. And they're like, never.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if wearing a mask was an already a virtue signaling moment in a certain way, man, it'll still be so going forward.
How will everyone know?
I know. It's like, oh, look at me. Let's see. This one comes from Massive Dynamics. Woman excluded from team lunches wins workplace discrimination case with $32,000 payout. Excluded from team lunches. Okay. Judge awarded a woman in the UK thousands of dollars for lacking Pizza Friday invites. Do tell. A car dealership in the UK is paying the price for alleged workplace discrimination. Hartwell Ford, a franchise dealership network that operates throughout England, reportedly lost a discrimination case to a former employee who says they were excluded from monthly team lunches, Newsweek reports. Receptionist Malgorzata Luica, I'm trying my best, guys, sued the dealership over the repeated snub, which occurred after she filed a sexual discrimination complaint against her boss at Hartwell Ford's Hemel Hempstead branch in March 2018, where she temporarily worked for 2 years. When Luica was transferred to the dealership's Watford branch following her complaint, she told the judge she was excluded from team lunches that were held on the last Friday of each month. Colleagues who worked in the same office would provide lunch orders for pizza and other takeout foods to management, while Luica was routinely skipped. Luica was previously included in the monthly team lunches when she worked at the Hemel Hempstead branch, according to The Sun. Hartwell Ford reportedly tried to defend management's decision to exclude Luica by citing her part-time work schedule, which ended at 1 p.m. local time. However, the judge for the case did not view the defense as a reasonable excuse. Employment judge Jennifer Bartlett allegedly said, quote, Malgorzata Luica could have been asked if she wanted to join in during a recent hearing, according to The Sun. Okay. The judge also determined there was sufficient evidence to show that Luica endured additional workplace discrimination with cut hours, pay, and neglect from colleagues at the Watford branch. By January 2019, Luica was let go from her role at Hartwell Ford after 5 years of service. Okay, well, I mean, I guess the first part is that the company admitted that they had excluded her. So that kind of already puts an extra arrow in her quiver. But, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be something like Luica has a history of accusing people of sexual harassment or something. And then people are like, maybe we shouldn't bring her to the lunches where something could be missaid, you know? But I don't know. Okay, 32 grand. That's, I don't know how much a part-time secretary receptionist at a car dealership gets, but that's probably at least a decent amount of money for a lack of a year's salary.
That's a lot of pizza.
That's right. You buy a lot of pizza with
that. See her at home. Fucking, look at all this pizza I got. You guys can't count.
That's right. Yeah, she's like posts on Facebook. It's like, I'm going to have a pizza party at my house. You're not invited.
That's right.
This one comes from Sean Uli. Reporters have to get quotes approved by White House before publishing. Say what? Okay. White House report. Go away. Jeez. White House reporters are seething over a policy that requires them to submit quotes from interviews with Biden administration officials to the communications team for approval, editing, or veto, according to a report on Tuesday.
Huh.
So, sorry, Trump was the enemy of the media, and now Biden is trying to control the media. Which is worse, do you think? The White House is demanding that reporters who conduct interviews with administration officials do so under conditions known as background with, quote, approval, Politico reported. The information from the interview can be used in a story, but for a reporter to be able to attach a name to the quote, the reporter must transcribe the comments and send them to the communications team. Oh, so now we're going to get nothing but familiar with the matter so they can quote somebody correctly, but then we won't have any ability to tell whether the quote is actually accurate or can be attributed to someone with actual knowledge. Well, that's convenient.
The administration of truth. Finally, guys, finally, we have a president who tells the truth exclusively. They'll never lie to us. He always tells us exactly how it is, unlike that orange guy who never did that.
Wasn't this the administration that was promising us more transparency than the predecessor?
Oh, yeah.
But now we're going to filter what can or cannot be attributed to public servants being paid by the taxpayer.
Yeah. Meanwhile, during Trump's tenure, fucking reporters could literally just write anything about anybody for any reason,
even if it was true or not.
Yeah, it was just totally fine. But
at that point, the White House can approve them, edit them, or veto their use. Edit them after someone said something. That's great. Politico's West Wing Playbook, which reported the practice, acknowledged that it participated in the arrangement when it did a piece about speechwriter Vinay Reddy that was up against a deadline. And the report noted that the Obama administration and the Trump administration also used the arrangement, but the Trump communications team deployed it less often than the Biden White House. Okay. The exercise is a carryover from the Biden presidential campaign and one that is irking White House reporters. Well, I got to say, if I'd heard about this before the Trump administration was being used, I would have been as pissed off.
Oh yeah, because it's still the same thing. Like it doesn't change just because a different administration was using it. Whoever the fuck was using this in their administration, that shit's fishy at best.
I'm kind of surprised, and again, if I've forgotten, because God knows we've covered a lot of stories here, I'm surprised that I hadn't already read something about that during Trump's tenure.
Yeah, because that'd have been very interesting to know.
Yeah. Thank you, Point Curation. Soon they'll be quoting ranking official Ogilvy. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be 1984ing. It's already. Like, really? Okay. As irking reporters. Yeah, no kidding. Quote, the rule treats them like coddled Capitol Hill pages, and that's not who they are or the protections they deserve, one reporter told Politico. Well, to be fair.
That is exactly who they are. And whether or not they deserve it is up for debate.
To be fair, that is how they wish to be treated in a way. They want to be pampered, coddled, little, anyway. Every reporter I work with has encountered the same practice, another reporter said. But while individual reporters have fumed over the arrangement, there has yet to be a coordinated response against it among the White House pool. Yeah, you know why? You know why? Because they have no spines. They're not actually journalists. They are just grudgingly going along lapdogs, because if they complained, they might be shut out from the next interview. Their sources might not talk to them. They might not get the big interview with the president. They might hurt their outlet's abilities to report on the White House. Yeah, this is what the White House holds over their heads, and this is the lack of courage that the reporters have to actually put truth to power. But
here's what the actual problem is, though, and this is where the real issue that comes up that's been going on for a while. Because of media bias and the fact that most media outlets are, on team whoever, it would normally, under normal circumstances, it would be easy for all the media outlets to come together and be like, no, fuck that. We're the media, and those people, they talk about that shit over there. That's fine. But we're all the media. Like, this is not about to happen. It should be very easy for them to do that. But because all of them are so fucking biased and partisan, they can't come together. Because teaming up with Fox on this thing, could turn you into a, you're working with the bad guys, and it's like, I thought we were all reporters. I thought all reporters need to be protected. And like, no, not those guys. Those guys are the bad ones. Yeah,
when Obama was intimating that he was going to, or even I think he actually did, try to bar Fox News from the White House press pool, all the outlets said, no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to stand by Fox News, even if we don't like Fox News. They still deserve all the access that we do. And when Jim Acosta was threatened with having his credentials taken away under Trump, everybody backed up Acosta, right? Yeah, this should be an easy call.
Yeah, very easy.
It says, quote, the only way the press has the power to push back against this is if we all band together, said the first reporter. No. The only way the press has the power to push back against this is if somebody takes the first step and actually acts like a journalist. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't feel confident enough to do your job without having every other outlet behind you on it, when you know it is something that needs to be said or pushed back against, nothing will get done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that is a lame excuse. That is a coward's excuse.
Yeah, that's just like being in a room full of people and witnessing somebody do something that is clearly a crime. You're like, well, nobody else said anything.
Yeah. I think of the apocryphal and not necessarily factually accurate Kitty Genovese story. You hear about this? It's a very old story. There was a lady, as the story goes, back in, I think it was New York in the 50s or something. There's a lady named Kitty Genovese, and she was attacked and murdered and I think sexually assaulted. As the story goes, it was in the courtyard of an apartment building. And it happened in the court. And all these people in their apartments were looking down and watching it, and then nobody called the cops. Everybody was just so not wanting to get involved. They all just went away and didn't do anything, even though they knew something terrible was happening. Now, the facts of the case are far different than that, but that is as the legend goes. That's what this reminds me of.
I saw an episode of I think it was Law and Order that it wasn't that story, but it was the scenario was the same.
Sure. Law and Order always does mock-ups of things.
Yeah, it was like a courtyard or whatever, and it was surrounded by buildings. And they're like, dude, all these windows, all these people, nobody seen shit. They're like, nope, didn't see nothing. Like,
let's see. Asked for comment by Politico, White House spokesman Michael Gwynn wanted to go off the record, but later texted a statement from Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Oh, so was that him editing his previous? Okay. Quote, we would welcome any outlet banning the use of anonymous background quotes that attack people personally or speak to internal processes from people who don't even work in the administration, Psaki said.
Yeah?
Well, here's the thing, Jen. If you take away a reporter's ability to quote an administration official without your sanitizing it, then maybe that'd be fine. But unfortunately, in order to get accurate quotes out, they have to not use your names for some reason. But personally, here's the thing. I would quote them anyway. What is it? I want somebody to tell me how it is the White House gets to dictate to the press whether or not they can use the name of an administration official who says a thing. Can you imagine if I was talking to administration official X or something, right? And he said something that was totally quotable, and this person would have direct knowledge of the information he was giving me. I took that quote and said, put it in the paper. Administration official X said this, and it's a direct quote. I have it on recording, the whole 9 yards. What's the White House going to do? Are they going to come in and say, you can't do that, or you need to retract that, or we're not going to talk to you anymore? Okay, well, I'll tell my bosses that you're, attacking the press for doing their job, and on and on. That's what needs to happen here. You can't let the White House tell you who you can or cannot quote. That's bullshit. They don't have that power. They don't have that right. In fact, they're not supposed to have that right. You're ceding that power to them by going along with this nonsense.
Yeah.
So that's why we had. Okay, now this makes all the sense in the world now. Okay, so in the one instance, if Trump wasn't pulling this all the time, and God knows if they were, we would have heard about it more. Every time I read familiar with the matter, it's because they were quoting somebody, and what? It was probably nonsense, or somebody who didn't actually know the information. Or, for all I know, they were saying familiar with the matter because they were adhering to this policy.
Well, yeah, and in Trump's instance, it was to defend the person who said it, not to help Trump out. Now it's the other way around. They're doing it to defend Biden.
This is ridiculous. Okay. Let's see. Quote, so instead of transparency, suddenly the White House realized, hey, this quote approval thing is a cool thing. We can now control what is in their stories by refusing to allow them to use anything without our approval. And it's pernicious, insidious, awful practice that reporters should resist. He added. Who said that? Peter Baker told Politico. New York Times report, Peter Baker. Yeah, you know what? Peter Baker, it needs to be resisted. You can't make this the new normal. You can't allow this to stand. Are you guys nuts? Who granted the White House this authority? You did, by going along with it. Jesus. How stupid.
Indeed.
Anyway, I'm gonna call it there, guys, for stories, because I'm all worked up, and we got other things we can talk about. So, guys, thanks so much for all the stories. Appreciate them all. Sorry to get to them all, but there'll be leftovers for tomorrow in case Satsu gets through them all, because Satsu's very efficient at these things.
I am very efficient.
Whereas I'm just a blowhard.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, for you, I'm gentle. Moving on to the wonderful world of YouTube time. Satsu, what have you been up to?
As I said, not much, because it didn't until you mentioned it, because like I told you, subconsciously I've been doing this, and until you started mentioning it, it wasn't something I really noticed, but now I'm like hyper conscious of it.
Yeah, I know. I'm a jerk in that way. Real quick, thank you, Ex-Bubba Hotep. You know who is transparent? Gas Buddy, helping you find the cheapest gas near you. Oh, Gas Buddy!
Oh my God, is this about to be a thing?
Today's episode is not brought to you by Gas Buddy. Although, for as many times as I've chanted their name, I should get a commission, just a little bit, from Gas Buddy. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's see if they can sponsor us. Yeah, so like I said, I've started trying to do recordings for videos and just kind of stopped halfway through. Like it's not like it needs to be perfect for the 10 people who watches my videos. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have to go above and beyond. I don't have to, but it's just like I don't know. But
can't you just I mean, when you know you're gonna have to do it, just pause what you're saying, clear your throat, move on, and then go back on the audio file and just cut out all. I mean, you'll see them as the little pauses in there. Just cut them out.
Well, like I said, most of the time it's involuntary, so I don't really know when I'm. It's like, have you ever sneezed or coughed and not knew it was coming? Where it just kind of happened.
Sure, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I always go over my audio before I edit and post.
Right, but it just makes the editing process significantly more annoying. It just makes it tedious, and then I don't know. It's a pain in the ass, is what it is, and I hate when I do it like right in the middle of a particular word. So I'm like, I gotta try to continue to keep talking from that point mid sentence, like I didn't stop, and it's like, man, I can't fucking. So yeah, it's. What's up? Oh, I love you, Squishy. Have a good night.
I love you too, Squishy. Bye, Squishy.
Is she standing there just waiting? Like, I'm waiting, sir.
I'm waiting for my love.
So yeah, it's I don't know. Like I've been using the word to text thing for a lot of my other videos, and it's been pretty. It makes editing a lot easier or whatever. So I've been thinking about transferring that over to my cooking videos. Because at this point, like, I don't know. I know some people like, yeah, we watch it to hear your voice or whatever, but I'm just like, the views and the analytics don't really reflect that, because I got videos that I wasn't talking on that people comment more on or like and stuff or share more than videos when I'm even talking, So it's just like, I don't know. I have to figure it out.
Side thing, I haven't seen chat move in the last couple of minutes, and that always makes me nervous. Because last time that happened, I wasn't broadcasting and I didn't know it. So
it still says we're live.
I know it still says we're live, but chat. I'm not begging for attention here, but okay. People are saying things now. Okay, just making sure, because that was a red flag I got a while back that something might be wrong with the broadcast when suddenly the chat stops. I just want to make sure you're all there, that I'm all here. That's fine. Yeah, everybody's just saying Gas Buddy. Yeah, let me know you're here with a good old Gas Buddy. And just on point. Phil Thomas says this message brought to you by Gas Buddy. Anyway, what else have you been up to?
Well, yeah. So what I'm thinking is I'm probably just going to use the voice to text thing and try to just put my humor behind it, so y'all still know that it's me behind it and not somebody else or whatever. To get videos out across all of my channels, because it's just becoming a hassle. And me about to start school and shit like that or whatever, it's just like I ain't really got time to be giving a video that much attention now on the editing front, especially when like 40, 50 people are only watching it. I only can do so much, So like I gotta do what I can with what I can, and I still want to put out the content because I enjoy making it, but I have to I have to also make it, easy for me to do.
You got to balance your time.
Right. So so content should theoretically come out faster with this new system and setup. But I guess we'll just have to see how it works out.
Alrighty. As for myself, as you may have noticed, Weebo Jones is not here tonight. Her schedule did not work out. So tentatively, once again, the 25th, we may have her on. Although I'm not even sure what day of the week the 25th is, but I'm assuming it's a day that we're broadcasting because it's, 5 chances out of 7. And so we'll see then, hopefully. Otherwise, cooked up the theme for tonight's show, Van Helsing, which I thought turned out pretty good. I was particularly proud of how I worked in Gamer Valine's face into what's her name? I forget her name all of a sudden. Anyway, onto the thumbnail. That looked pretty good. And of course, getting all the color shade matching to the whole like green thing, that was a trick or two, but it seemed to work out okay. Thank you, Ebony Williams. Fun fact, ketchup was once sold as medicine. Hello, Satsu.
Yes, and it was called catsup at that time, and Heinz decided to stand out from the crowd and switch the name to ketchup, and everybody else kind of followed suit.
I think you can still find things that don't call it catsup somewhere.
Yeah, they still exist, but Heinz was the company.
What was it supposed to have cured?
I don't remember.
What? I mean, like tomatoes and vinegar? Like, otherwise, I am looking over right now my list of TEDx's that I may or may not go for this week. So I'll read some titles to you. Satsu, you tell me what jumps out at you.
I hate them all.
I don't care if you hate them. No. I care if you have a reaction to them. Okay. So let's scroll down. I have quite a few because, I mean, like I say, every couple of days, TEDx just drops a metric butt ton of these things on their channel. Let's see. We have Breaking Through Stereotypes, The Path Towards Gender Equality.
Is that how Radio Shack went under?
I don't know, but this one clocks in at over 21 minutes. Oh. That is a long TEDx. Next, the impact of linguistic bias in education.
Oh, you mean like saying that white people are inherently advantaged?
No, I'm assuming it's probably talking about slang or dialect.
Maybe.
Let's see. What's next? Okay. Let black people be... What? I'm reading it as... This is the title. Oh, I mean, maybe there's supposed to be like commas in there or something. Okay. Let black people be. Stop policing the ways black people find joy.
You know who does that a lot, by the way? You know who are the biggest judges of the things that black people do and whether or not they should or shouldn't be doing them?
I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's other black people. Oh, my God.
Let's see. Beyond calling racism a public health threat in medicine.
I have no reaction to that.
Beyond. Let's see. Importance of diversity in the history classroom and beyond. I like there's beyond in this. Let's see. Meaningful and inclusive workplaces through story.
What?
You're going to tell us stories? Okay. Systemic misogyny. Why gender gaps exist for Nobel Prizes. My first question is going to be, if I do that one, I'm going to look and see, is our speaker a scientist?
Mm-hmm.
And if she is not, why isn't she the change she wants to see?
Dude, that is always the question that I see. Why aren't you forcing every woman you know to do the thing that you want to do? And she's like, well, the answer is simple. I took a course in college that told me to find a problem that didn't have a solution, and this is the one I chose.
Yeah, because I remember, there's several examples of this, but there was one several years ago on one of the British TV shows or interview shows, and the person being interviewed was, I think she was a model or something, and they were having some kind of debate over women in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the professor lady on the one side, you had the model on the other side. The model was arguing that, we aren't encouraging girls to go into STEM, and this is all a result of sexism and everything else. And the professor lady on the other side says, well, why didn't you decide to be a scientist? And she was like, well, because I wasn't interested in it. And the other lady just kind of sat back and was like, mm-hmm. Like, boom. Like mic drop without actually having to say much.
I love those moments.
Yeah, it was great.
God, I love them.
Let's see. The next one. We are losing our humanity, and I'm tired of watching it happen. That's mysterious enough that I might go for that one.
What did you do exactly? That's always the question.
I get really interested in the ones where the titles tell me nothing about what they're going to talk about. Because it's like, oh boy, mystery box. Next one, time to be intentional. Not nearly as mysterious as the last one, but it's. And then the last one I have at least. Is that the last one set up? Yeah. Black joy as an act of resistance. Now that one's only 8 minutes long. Heck, I could probably. I don't. Oh, no, we don't have enough time. I'd do it tonight, as short as it is, but we've already got halfway through the time that I would be doing it otherwise. Maybe I'll save that for Thursday, because Thursday, for all intents and purposes, is my birthday. So maybe I'll give myself the present of finding out how black joy is an act of resistance.
It isn't the entire concept, and that's like the foundation of modern activism. It's like enjoy things, but only if it makes other people unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, I just deconstructing that title for a second. It's just it's such a bizarre thing. It's like, first off, joy has a skin color, apparently, or there are types of joy that can only be either, I don't know, experienced or possessed or performed by certain skin colors. And then as an act of resistance, yeah, my happiness is pissing somebody else off, and that's my motivation for being happy.
Exactly. I literally get joy out of ruining other people's situations.
Yeah. It's like, okay. I know somebody's gonna be pissed off if I'm smiling, so I'm just gonna be happy. Now, if you think that someone's going to be pissed off for you being happy, I'm not quite sure what that says about you exactly.
Yeah, and that is the number one problem right now that is wrong with voice actors for translations for Western anime, the people who are translating that stuff, and most of the people who are helping transcribe and bring stuff over to the West. It's made of a whole bunch of people who literally strive on making the fan base of whatever it is they're in control of pissed off.
So if you're, I'm just trying to do like armchair psychology here for a second. If my motivation in expressing, because it has to be seen, otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
If my motivation in publicly expressing happiness is to make someone else unhappy, is that a genuine expression of happiness? Unless I'm a sadist, right? Unless I'm just an absolute, just inimitable asshole. I mean, I guess happiness is in the eye of the beholder. So if you like pissing other people off or feeling as though you're pissing other people off, because God knows you don't have mind reading powers, that's just a bizarre way of looking at. I kind of want to watch this now. I played this up so much. You know what? What the hell? All right, guys. So off the cuff. Let me set this up real quick. Obviously, I didn't have an opportunity to set up the sound to improve it if it's bad. But we're going to give this a few minutes. Maybe the whole thing. We'll see if we can get through it all. It might eat into question time a little bit, depending on what happens here. So Pre-apologies for that, but
well, how will people know about our dietary preferences?
I know, right? Well, let's see if I can get this to work. Okay. So hopefully the sound is enough that you guys can hear it. But I'm going to just do this here and do this. Does that come out okay? All right. So here we go. Here we go with Black Joy as an Act of Resistance from Dr. Frederick Ingram Jr. of the Dallas College, apparently. So Satsu, you tell me if you can hear this all right. If it's terrible, like if the sound quality is awful, then I'll stop. I'll try to rework it and maybe do it on Thursday. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. Okay. Get on with it.
The African American lived experience has been interesting.
The African American lived experience has been interesting, as though it's a singular thing.
It is a singular fucking biological organism.
Yeah.
This is already starting off, and it's making me mad.
In a lighthearted, dismissive, or jovial way, but in a way that if you are African American, you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Nope. Unless you believe that African Americans are a monolith, there's no way you can make that claim.
We are one of the only ethnic groups within this country who constantly have to explain who we are.
To who?
Wait, and I might be showing my ignorance here. Does skin color denote ethnicity? Inherently.
It seems like it just depends on the fucking circumstances, honestly.
Yeah.
Is it convenient for my argument? Then yes, it does. If it's not convenient, then no, it doesn't matter.
We constantly have to provide context for the things that we say. We have to explain the way that we dress, the way that we talk, and that we are not being aggressive when everyone else seems to think that we are, when it's really just passion.
I mean, every time I hear stuff like this, I just think, well, it's on the basis of individual circumstance. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say to that.
Anybody can be overly aggressive to somebody and just call it passion. Like,
yeah. There's also passive aggressive too, but anyway. Okay.
That is the African American lived experience.
You can't make that claim.
Except for those fucking coons, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking.
Are you talking about Uncle Tim?
I'm waiting for that to come out because they don't count. I love how everybody's a monolith unless you disagree, and now you're just an outsider. You're supposed to think like all the rest of us. Fall in line, ignorant Negro.
Oh, his shoes blend in with the carpet.
Oh, shit.
If you could not tell, I am a millennial.
Well, if I didn't know, I buy those pants and those. Yeah, okay.
Millennials are different because we get blamed for literally everything.
So did the last generation. So
yeah.
What?
Yeah, so the last generation, so do the boomers. Everybody gets blamed for everything. You know who gets blamed for more than anything else these days? Police and white people.
Right.
I mean, and Republicans or conservatives, whatever. You know, there's plenty of blame to go around. You are not unique, regardless of your age demographic.
The one thing you never seem to get blamed about is something you actually have control over, but we're not going to talk about that.
From the spread of the coronavirus to whatever you name it, we get blamed for it all.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hold on. When did black people become Asians? Where did that come from?
No, millennials. He's still talking about millennials.
Well, when did millennials become all Asian?
Oh, because, all the protests that all millennials took part in. I guess. I don't know.
And they were all Asian.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, what a lot of people do not realize is that millennials have turned or are almost 40.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm, as far as I recall, I'm Gen X. I must be on the tail end of the Gen X thing because I'm only coming up on 42.
I don't know what the fuck I am.
I don't know either,
but that's mostly because I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think of, honestly, I don't have it in my mind like, oh, somebody's this age and they go like, oh, there's a millennial. I don't really, yeah. Anyway, okay, so what does that have to do with anything? Almost 40, and so you're still acting like children at adult age? Is that it?
People do not understand that millennials have children.
Yes, we do. If we care.
They do. They understand it and they see it. They're terrified at the fact that you do. So I'm pretty sure they notice it.
And what does that denote? That you continue to age and you can procreate. That says what about you again?
Millennials, most importantly, have a nap time, right?
What?
Did he say nap time?
He said nap time.
Okay, truth be told, I haven't thought about millennials as a punchline since maybe 2015.
That shit's old by now, man.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, millennials as a punchline was kind of, at least in my experience, was kind of a 2014 through 2015 kind of deal. So the idea that millennials are whiny crybabies and everything else, I kind of, that whole notion's gone aside. I just look at the individuals who are being whiny crybabies, and I've seen every age range do that. So millennials have a nap. I don't think I've ever heard that before either, but okay. So you're comically denigrating your own age demographic.
I don't know if that was a criticism. That sounded like a flex. Like he was trying.
A lot of people do not understand that we need our rest.
See, that's what I'm saying. It was a flex.
Oh, you need your rest. Okay, well, us adults will be over here getting up at the crack of dawn working for a living.
These are some of the most interesting aspects of being a millennial.
Wait. Napping, having kids, and turning 40. That's the most interesting? Boy, you've got a boring existence, man. You got a really boring existence. Or was the other interesting part being blamed for pandemic spread? Was that the other part?
I feel like this dude took a course on how to do a TEDx and just went way overboard.
I don't know yet.
But what is also different about being Black and a millennial is that our lived experience is extremely different than our white peers.
Oh, okay. Tell me what the differential is. I'm curious.
We did not have an opportunity to grow up and maintain our innocence.
What? Wait.
Black people as a collective, every single one of them in existence did not have the opportunity to grow up while maintaining their innocence.
Okay.
That is a crazy claim.
I'm going to back up a little bit. I want to get the whole. Sorry for my pause game, guys, but there is a concern about not necessarily damaging, but still annoying content matching if I don't, give some extra room to the stuff sometimes.
Different than our white peers.
Right.
We did not have an opportunity to grow up and maintain our innocence. We had to learn about race, racism, and white supremacy at a very early age.
I didn't have to learn about anything because you know what? I was dodging bullets, running from people who were trying to beat me up, getting my shit stolen, having family members killed on the regular basis. That's what I was dealing with growing up. That's all I learned about growing up. And as a matter of fact, every run-in I've ever had with a cop back when I was growing up, the worst experience I've always had was with a Black one because they fucking hated Black people for some reason.
Thank you, Keldrig. I think of millennials as a punchline, but I am a millennial, an actual millennial, not a Gen Xer pretending millennials are ignorant. I'll take your word for it. I mean, here's the other thing, too, is that every generation finds reasons to think of the upcoming generation as less intelligent, less insightful, and on and on and on. And given the way that information and instant gratification and lack of depth of study keeps becoming the norm, it's becoming more accurate as time goes on than maybe it was in previous generations, in my opinion. But then, of course, I'm just looking back at younger people now and going like, oh my God, get off my lawn.
Well, what's tripped out, though, is, and this is truthful, my first encounter with actual racism was watching little white kids get beat up in my school whenever they showed up. Because I went to basically an all-Black school, and most of the teachers there were Black.
Yeah.
So whenever white kids showed up, they never were there for very long. They would just transfer out because people would beat the shit out of them and take their money and do all kinds of shit to them every time they showed up because they were white. And it was normal. Like nobody said anything about it. If there was no issues, nobody really complained or made it seem like it was a problem. It was just a thing that happened.
The first time I remember it ever coming up in my life, I believe it was first grade, and we were at the gym and we're doing basketball and stuff. And there was one girl in our class, or in my class, who was black. And I don't remember the inciting incident, but another kid in the class, I think she like threw the ball at him wrong or something. Anyway, again, this is like first grade. So we're like 6 years old, maybe 7 or something. This one kid, I remember he was this fat little white kid with a bowl cut and blonde hair. And he yelled at her, he says, "Go away, black ass." And I remember this as distinctly as yesterday. Every kid and the teacher in the place froze and looked at him because it was so outside even at that age, we all knew like, what? It was just so outside the realm of appropriate.
Yeah, some shit she wasn't supposed to say.
Yeah, it's like that's not how you treat people. And even at that age, I knew that. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, of all the things you could call a kid, and but you have to bring that up. So yeah, that kid got in major trouble, and he was honestly ostracized from a lot of people from that point forward because the girl in the class, she did nothing wrong. Anyway, that was the first time I ever encountered even a smidge of what you could call that, especially kids that age, you know. And even then, back in the olden days of the 80s, amongst children, we all had an understanding that no, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, and I'm not.
So yeah,
and I'm not stating or to state under any circumstances that whatever I personally experienced is representative of all black people. I'm just telling you my experience.
Yeah, but to say that it was never all you learned was this, or only people act this way because of that, and so on and so forth. You cannot say that, and people that do, I don't believe. It's not a matter of dismissing the existence of racism, but to paint with such a broad brush everyone's experiences because you say so, you immediately lose me. Anyway, let's keep going.
Just recently, Prince Harry stated that he did not have to address racism and white supremacy until he married Meghan Markle.
Imagine that. Uh-huh.
I'm sure that is an amazing experience to have, but for us, it's just not it.
It's an amazing experience to have to confront. I'm sure it's a joyful instance. It's like, oh boy, white supremacy, racism. Now my day is complete.
In 1976, child psychologists Richard Perry and Theodore Shapiro spoke about the age of 7 being the age of reason. This is the age where common sense and maturity begin.
Where is this going? Okay, well, I mean, I was about 6 or 7 when that. Okay, yeah.
Let me tell you what happened when I was 7.
Okay, anecdote. So your experience means what?
When I was 7?
Yes.
On national television?
Yes.
We witnessed the beating of Rodney King.
Uh-huh.
A year later, when I was 8, because of the verdict of that trial, we witnessed the LA uprising.
The LA what? Did I lose you, Satsu?
The LA uprising.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lately, I've heard uprising and rebellion as words to replace what actually we're talking about. Now, what was his name? Was it Reginald Terry? The truck driver that was pulled out of his truck by 2 guys and had a brick thrown at his head. Yeah, the uprising, was that an appropriate response to that situation? Of course. Yeah.
All things permissible.
When I was 15.
Also, I love the fact that the Shutterstock logo is still at the bottom of his photo there.
An unarmed Amadou Diallo was shot 41 times. When I was 28, an unarmed teenager, Trayvon Martin, was killed by a pseudo police officer.
Was that all that happened in that incident? Not to give what's his name any credit, but it wasn't a one-sided deal entirely.
At 31, Michael Brown.
At 31, Michael Brown did what?
You see, he didn't elaborate or give any details on that one at all.
No.
At 32, a day before my birthday, Sandra Bland.
What happened to Sandra Bland again? You gonna say?
Nope.
No.
You don't need any details.
No details, no context.
Black woman was stopped for a minor traffic incident and was killed, found dead in her jail cell.
Those are no. Being found dead in her jail cell is not the same as being killed. That is an absolute lie.
At 36, George Floyd was murdered on national television as a cop kneeled on his neck for exactly 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Well, only on national television after the body cam footage was released, but it wasn't like it happened live or something, but yeah, okay.
For 30 years of my life, all I have seen as a black man in this country is trauma.
Wait a minute.
Shit.
For 30 years of your life, 30 years, you named, how many incidents was that?
About 7.
Yeah. 30 years, you named 7 incidents and said for your entire life, that is the only thing you have witnessed. That's a little blasphemous, don't you think? Like, I get it. Those things are things to witness. They are things that happen. They're not very low profile things or something that you can just brush off. Sure, they were things that definitely happened, and to be there for is something that you can say you did, but like, that's it. That's the only thing you've experienced your whole life. 7 events. And the rest of your life, you were just fucking idling somewhere until the next thing happened.
I mean, if I wanted to talk about traumatic events I've witnessed in my life, I think 9/11 would probably be up top there. But that's just...
Dude,
I was comparing wounds here.
Probably thousands and thousands of people were wrongly killed by police in that little time frame that he gave.
Mm-hmm.
And ain't no telling what ethnicity all those people were. And all of them that were wrong. But it's just like none of them matter. If it wasn't specifically designed to format to fit this story, then who cares a fuck about them? Like, that don't make no sense. It just don't make no sense.
But one of the most unique things about black people and our experience is that we always turn trauma into laughter.
Is that genetic?
It must be. I didn't get the email though.
Because you know what real comedy is? It's taking traumatic things and laughing at it to take away their power. It's not unique to you because of your skin color. I hate to tell you that.
No, only black people do it. Everybody else is just miserable,
I guess.
We always find very unique ways to make our most traumatic experiences funny. Kevin Hart, during his 2011 stand-up special, Laugh at My Pain, spoke very deeply about his own traumatic experiences.
And no white comedians or Asian comedians or any other kind of comedians ever do the same thing, talking about their lives and their hardships and turning them into jokes?
Well, that ain't even a question here, because the narrative that he's spinning is that black people always have to somehow defend or make some kind of excuse or explain what they mean when they do things like that. Kevin Hart is a famous fucking comedian. Who did he have to explain that to? Who did he have to come out after making that special and make excuses for?
In the most comedic way, Leslie Jones, a black woman who was constantly berated because of her features, said, "The best way to conquer pain is through laughter."
And what do class clowns generally do in schools? This is not unique. I mean, individually, good for you. You found a way to cope with bad things that turned into something at least somewhat positive. It's not unique to a specific skin color. It's not a talent that only one skin color possesses. It is a human thing. That's where comedy comes from. That's where rolling with the punches comes from. Laughing at life and so on.
No, sorry. It's exclusive to black people.
Martin Lawrence in 2002, during his stand-up special, Run Tell That, spoke about how he had a mental health episode, and everyone made light of it when the brother was just crying out for help.
He's a comedian. Sometimes people don't know when the joke stops. But if they're using it as their material, it's meant to be laughed at. And that's therapeutic. You know how many, like, I remember one of the big events that started in my personal life of where the social justice stuff started bleeding into my real world is someone in a completely non-related context to the whole thing. You know how Monkey goes, just let it happen? Somebody said that at a group gathering I was at one time. And someone decided to say, you're making light of rape. And it turned into this huge, huge schism in my social group. And it was the first time that I'd ever experienced where someone went all buck wild on trying to police other people's humor. And it was split down the middle, almost literally, where people were saying, you know, that's being a rape apologist. And then there are people on the other side, mostly women, not exclusively, but mostly women, saying, and as though they had to do this, and it was kind of weird. But anyway, they came out and said, I've been sexually assaulted, and I joke about it because it helps me. You know, this is what people do to cope. It is a coping mechanism that's been going on since the beginning of time. Sorry to keep harping on this, but something traumatic happens to you. To take away the power of that thing, you make fun of it. You make light of it. You roll your eyes, shrug your shoulders, and get on with your day. That's okay.
Well, it's the way they respond to it is really strange, though, because you'll have somebody come out and say, "Hey, you might be offending somebody. Don't you care about what other people think and how this will affect them? You're making light of this situation." Mm-hmm. And then the person they're speaking for steps up and says, "You know, I don't really feel that way. Actually, I actually prefer this because it helps me." They're like, "Fuck you. You don't matter." And right. I'm like, you're speaking for this person. You are coming out in defense of this person and asking me, do I care what they think? And then they tell you, like, I disagree with you. And you're like, well, fuck you. You don't matter. Yeah. You're not included in this.
Well, this is the problem with people representing more than they do when they're only representing themselves.
Yeah.
And speaking as though their world is everyone's. Anyway.
Hattie McDaniel was an amazing Oscar-winning actress who acted before we had civil rights in this country. Mm-hmm. She used her acting chops to still make us all laugh.
So what?
At the root of all of our trauma, we have always been able to find joy in our grief, joy in our trauma, and joy in our own resistance.
What happens if someone hasn't?
They don't exist. Okay. They're not real. They're like, if you're black, you fit this mold that I've built for black people, and all black people are like this. And if they say they're not, then fuck them. They're just a dirty Uncle Tom. They don't matter. That's how it works. That's
Speaking
how it
about
works.
Black joy and opportunities to experience Black joy, I want to talk a little bit more about what it means to lean into Black joy.
That sounds like a porno title. Sorry, lean into Black joy.
It does, but still.
I'll back up a little bit.
Black joy. Mm-hmm. As a millennial, we had traumatic experiences.
Again, I always my trigger finger on the space bar disposit goes and like start talking about other people that you do not represent. As a millennial, no, you. It's not about we. You cannot speak for we. Speak for yourself, and I'll believe you.
But we also had ways to reaffirm our Blackness, whether it was from our parents or whether it was from TV shows like The Cosby Show.
Reaffirm our...
Yes. Look, typically, back when I was young and I was growing up, I would see my melanin fading and it would just kind of slowly disappear. And it was a traumatic experience for me. So I had to watch The Cosby Show to make sure that it came back. So I'd watch Bill Cosby and you can see the Blackness returning to me. Yeah. That's how that worked.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I was fearful I was getting a tan, I'd watch Growing Pains to reaffirm my whiteness. What the hell?
And yes, I know Bill Cosby is majorly controversial.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Okay. Not that that matters, but all right.
But the reality of the situation is that that show was pivotal in our development as millennial Black children.
Was it?
No. I mean, maybe for some people, sure. And that's the thing. That's the thing about doing stuff like this is no matter what you say, somebody out there probably agrees with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're speaking for somebody, sure, but you're still presenting it as it's applied to everyone.
I mean, I truth be told, I almost never watched those family sitcoms. I mean, whether it's the Cosby Show or Growing Pains. I think the only one that I watched with any regularity was probably, what am I thinking? Family Ties. I think that was because my parents watched that one. They liked that one. But other than that, I didn't look to TV shows to reaffirm my own anything really, because I understood that they were TV shows and they weren't real. But then I guess I really wasn't focused on skin color either.
Somebody pointed out in the chat, I bet you he went to nice schools and had a nice life. I honestly, like looking at this person and the way that he talks or whatever, it really, you could really come to that conclusion. Like, where did you grow up, man? Like, what exactly was your upbringing like? Because I find often a lot of people who say they really resonate with the Black struggle or whatever ain't never really actually experienced it. They just know people who have. And they're just like, well, I'm dark too, so me too. It's like, nah, that's not how that works.
To witness a Black family, we were able to witness a Black mother and father.
What about your own family?
We were able to witness a Black mother and father. You live in a house with them, presumably.
Back up a little bit.
We were able to witness a Black family. We were able to witness a Black mother and father who are both Black professionals raising Black children who went through incidents just as I did as a teenager.
Really? Sitcom families went through the same incidents you did as a teenager? Okay. I don't know what else to add to that. Okay.
We were able to watch A Different World, a show that ignited a generation of Black youth to decide to attend historically Black colleges and universities in large numbers.
If you say, I rarely ever watched sitcoms when I was growing up, so I don't know what the plots were of most of these shows, but okay.
We watched Martin as he showed us the greatness of his talents. He showed us that he and we could be literally anything that we wanted to be.
Again, if you say so.
You mean Martin, who put up the persona of the aggressive Black person more than probably any other comedian at the time?
Yeah,
with him and his wife, him and his girlfriend arguing literally every day, the ghetto ratchet Shanae chick that he played on a regular basis, and the fact that he was yelling and arguing and getting in confrontations with people all the time because of his abrasive behavior.
No, Satsu, stop, Satsu, stop.
Martin.
You're ruining it, Satsu.
I'm just saying.
And Living Single, a show about young, Black, single, excellent folks, where you could literally be an attorney, a talk show host, and owner of a magazine, and still have some of the same experiences that you or I have.
Do you understand? These are all fictional, scripted shows, right?
A good portion of these people, but most of the characters in Living Single throughout majority of the show were not that. Also, too.
Again, I never watch the show, so you know more than I do. But either way, these shows are not reflective of real life situations. I mean, they are situational comedies, i.e. sitcoms, and you may be able to relate because oftentimes they will use universal situations and personalities. But okay, so you saw a TV show where people who looked like you, because that's very important, were in positions of authority or professionalism that you aspire to. Okay. All right. And
each of these shows during that 30 years of my life, from childhood to adulthood, worked as distractions for our own healing.
What distractions for your own healing?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to say like inspirations and role models, because I could buy that to a certain extent.
Our own enlightenment and most importantly, reminded us about the elegance of our Blackness.
Imagine anybody else giving an adjective like that to their skin color.
The elegance of our Blackness.
And helped us to focus on our joy. But what if? What if we were simply allowed to be?
I don't know. What if? Tell me.
What if the scales of justice were actually balanced?
Well, you know, humanity at large has only been seeking that out for ever. So, sure.
It would affect much more than just Black people, for sure. I mean, if they were actually balanced, the large spectrum of people that would affect is it's quite massive. But sure, Black people would exclusively benefit from that.
What if my skin, your skin, and our skin was decriminalized?
What if? Let's say what if, because you know, in the last couple of years, you know, talk about being cited as an inherent criminal. Okay.
What if America really reinforced the concept or the idea of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness?
You're a doctor, right? I mean, okay. I thought you already had happiness and joy regardless of what happened because you have a special talent to turn grief into joy.
He neglected to mention the super barrier that was put in front of him to stop him from being a doctor. You know.
Well, he's forgotten to mention a lot of details so far.
What if I, or you, or any of us did not have to explain our existence to anyone?
I would love to know who and on what regular basis you are being required to explain your existence. What does that mean exactly? I'd love an example of you having to explain your existence. Like you're standing in front of somebody and like, just so you know.
Motherfucker's like, how are you here?
I am taking up a volume of space on the temporal plane. Just so you know. And like, what is that?
FYI. I exist and I'm supposed to. And somebody's like, where's your handler?
or is it that you go up to somebody and say, so just so you know, when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much and they get together 36 years ago, I came into being. And then you go through the, I mean, what I would love to know what that looks like. And I really love to know what is, if not something where I could understand it, what our speaker considers to be an instance where he feels he has to explain his existence. I'm dying to know. I'm sure we won't find out.
Why we choose to wear our hair the way that we choose.
I don't think you have that problem.
Or why we choose to dress the way that we choose to dress.
Who is interrogating you on that unless there's a dress code?
Now, here's the thing. He's painting the narrative that Black people are constantly questioned and interrogated about these things that nobody else seems to understand. Yet I bet you he believes in cultural appropriation and the fact that Black people's culture is constantly being stolen by people who don't understand it, who he has to constantly explain the concept to. Because both of those things can exist at the same time.
Or eat the foods that we choose to eat.
Who's stopping you from doing that?
What if we did not always have to explain our Blackness?
Again, I would love to have an example or three of what you're talking about.
What if? Our joy is our own responsibility. We all know that we are responsible for our own joy.
Do you know that, though? Okay.
We all know that we are responsible for our own happiness. The pursuit of your own happiness is a journey that only you can go on.
Why does it sound like, though, that you're complaining that you're not being provided happiness by an outside force?
Yeah, because if that was the narrative and that was the case, then you're talking to us for no reason.
We are responsible for the defeating of our own imposter syndrome. The lived experience that I previously mentioned constantly makes us feel inadequate.
Stop saying us. You're not speaking for us. You're speaking for you. If you want to talk about your personal experience, fine. That's That's a personal essay, and I got nowhere to go on that. But every time you say we, us, and so on, you're losing ground.
One of the things that is not solely our responsibility, but should be a freedom of ours, is the right to a just, equitable, and an undisturbed existence.
Good luck, because I hate to tell you this, regardless of who you are or what you look like, life is going to throw you a few curveballs along the way. And life is not fair.
An undisturbed existence. Are Black people the only ones who are who are entitled to an undisturbed existence, or are the people who you constantly go around and harass, who are just minding their business, who has never done anything bad to anybody, who you automatically accuse and paint labels onto by virtue of their skin color? Do they deserve an undisturbed existence?
Or alternately, do you assume that anyone with a particular skin color has an undisturbed existence that you can then hold against them as somehow they've got an advantage over you because you assume that they have an undisturbed existence?
Yeah. And also, if their existence is undisturbed, why the fuck are you over here disturbing it?
Oh!
Because those are rights that are granted to us simply for being human.
No, you do not have a right to an undisturbed existence. Now, I don't know what that means. If he's talking about, not being unjustly jostled by other people or something or whatever, then in a sense, sure, right? Okay, but you're not talking about that undisturbed. No, I'm sorry. No one has a right to that. You might desire it. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to live a peaceful life and not have problems. Unfortunately, that's not how life works. But without some specificity or some details, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, and I can only take you at your word, which doesn't tell me a whole heck of a lot.
Our Blackness is not at all criminal. Our joy, our Black joy, is and always will be an act of resistance. Thank you.
Against what? The lack of an undisturbed life. Anyway, there you go, guys. A little surprise TEDx for you.
How to say absolutely nothing in 8 minutes.
That's often how TEDx's go, but all the same, our speaker, and then this is the kind of subject that I like to go and take a look at. Someone who comports themselves to be an expert in something. Is a doctor. He's a doctor of, I'm not quite sure what, but that's his title. And that is his 8-minute essay on Black joy as resistance. And this is something that he worked on, and that was his best foot forward. So there you go.
Well, he put his best foot forward and fell on his face. So
yes, and all of it is attributed to him. I don't look at him, listen to him, and then take all of that and say, oh, well, that's what these people think. No, but he's more than happy to do stuff like that. Anyway, guys, we got a few minutes left. Sorry. Well, not sorry. But question time. If you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, conspiracy theories, put them in the chat now. Put plenty of chat marks after them if they're questions for us directly. If you have statements for us to consider, please put plenty of state marks after those. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can ask your friendly neighborhood chat partner, and they will explain it to you. Let's see. Motto Winter. Oh, Lords. You had this ready, copy and paste, didn't you? You had it ready. Oh, Lords, would y'alls try spicy chicken breast stew in Bones Shock? Reference. A Cobb salad and a Gas Buddies logo mug of orange sweet tea. Didn't you do a spicy chicken? Oh, I know you did a salad the other day. That's what it was. I don't know that I've ever actually had a Cobb salad, but all that sounds fine as far as I can tell. Satsu?
Yeah, I don't see no issue with that.
All right, Black Romeo. I'm going to go back to Fresh Prince. Why didn't Will's father want him, man? Why was Carlton not black enough to enter a fraternity? Well, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. There's no argument that Black people and many people throughout America face hardships, but it's the way this stuff is presented that's so toxic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just inherently divisive.
Yeah.
If you wanted to try, like, there would have been a way to take this essay's content and try to associate people as people and not do it by skin color. I mean, if you took out every instance he put in there of defining something as black, like the ability to make humor out of tragedy, right? The difficulties in life and the barriers and the obstacles you encounter. Seeing functional families on television and getting inspired to try to emulate that or whatever else. And you took all the race out of it, you'd find a lot of commonalities and common ground with lots of people. But instead, we have to compartmentalize all this down to skin color as though it's unique and special and something that other people are incapable of doing or something, while turning it into a giant victim narrative of we have to do this because our lives are terrible because of the way we look. Okay. Anyway, Cannibalistic Wizard, deep fried eggplant slices topped with bacon and a bourbon barbecue reduction, deep fried green tomatoes topped with shredded jerk chicken and a cheese, okay, and a glass of herbal tea.
Nah, I'm good.
That's a bit too much for me.
That's too much mush.
Yeah. Ebony Williams, chicken Alfredo or shrimp Alfredo? Ooh. I'm more partial to chicken Alfredo. The shrimp Alfredo I've had before, I don't know, the shrimp doesn't quite, or maybe it's a matter of seasoning or something, but the shrimp always tasted kind of, compared to the sauce, bland next to everything else. And so it didn't really add anything. It felt more like filler, whereas chicken always has that, good flavor to it.
Well, that's because a lot of people, they just take either already cooked shrimp or raw shrimp or whatever, and they cook it in the sauce. And they're like, oh, well, there you go. It's seasoned. Yeah. I'm like, no, season your fucking shrimp.
Yeah, that might be the difference. Like, maybe I've never had good shrimp Alfredo because, like I say, the shrimp always felt like just sort of an afterthought and didn't really add anything to it.
Yeah, if you can get like a seafood stock to add to the sauce or whatever, and then season up your shrimp, give them a nice little fry up or a pan sear real quick before you toss it in there, then that flavor infuses much better. It tastes like you can actually taste the shrimp. So.
Ants K, so what did the show Herman's Head teach us? That headmates are a thing. That multiple personality disorder is just on the edge of everyone's mind all the time. That was a bizarre show. Did you ever see Herman's Head?
Doesn't ring a bell.
You know that kids movie that came out a couple years ago, Inside Out, or In and Out, or Inside Out. Yeah, that's basically Herman's Head, except it was a sitcom where this one character's various mental personalities were their own characters on a set that was supposedly in his brain. And so as the character moved through the world, you'd jut into his brain and have all the different parts of his personality arguing with each other.
Gotcha.
And the different ones would take control of him in different instances and like be the one to tell him what to do. Yeah. Let's see. Chat jumped a bit, so sorry, guys. Let's see. JB, why are we still here? Metal Gear Solid speech. Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Yeah. Exactly. That's basically what that whole speech was. Mono Winter. Oh, Lords, if you would be called a cold-ass cookie cutter, what do you think it means? Is it a compliment, insult, plus definition? Cold-ass cookie cutter.
That sounds like some type of jive compliment that somebody would have said to you in a blaxploitation film or some shit.
Yeah, like I see this like if you'd just been witnessed cutting down people or knocking someone down or something, like especially if you punched a guy out who was named Cookie, that would work. I don't know. It sounds like a compliment of respect for having done something violent. That's what it sounds like to me.
You a cold ass cookie cutter.
Man, that and Gas Buddy are going to follow us all over the place. Thank you, Ebony Williams. Satsu, favorite Hell of a Boss character?
Ooh, that's tough because all of them are really likable. I mean, obviously the main character is, he stands out because he's kind of the main character or whatever. But I like the invader, the one that Invader Zim, the voice actor plays or whatever. I can't remember all their names right now because I haven't watched it in a while. But there's no characters in that show that I don't like. Like everybody they've brought on has been a very likable character. So it's kind of hard to pick one because they're all so good and fleshed out, except for the Wolf Girl. She's kind of background.
Random American, why did you subject us to that? Because I wanted to, and it's my night to host, and I was curious. And it was only 8 minutes versus like a 20 or 15-minute thing that would be on a Thursday TED Excellence. So, the relatively bite-sized ones, I'll go for those on the show.
I do love Moxie, though, because she's a ride or die, and she reminds me of Squishy. She will fuck somebody up for her dude. She don't mess around. She done killed several people in his name. Like, don't fuck with my man, I'll kill you.
Let's see. Wank Azaria and what's her face from The Simpsons was in Herman. Yeah, I know one of the voices. I think one of the voices was in Herman's head, but was Hank Azaria in Herman's head? Was he wasn't one of the personalities, was he? Maybe he was like the friend in the office or something. Because I seem to remember there was the guy with the glasses, there was the heavyset guy, there was the brunette with the curls who was very high pitched, and you had the Simpsons girl. And is that all of them, or is there somebody else? I'm blanking right now. Anyway, I can't remember them all. I'll have to look it up now, of course. Let's see. Andrew Joyner, was it my imagination, or was that guy contradicting himself towards the end? Towards the end? I mean, throughout and by omission, he was contradicting himself. Like this is what makes millennials unique. We have kids grow old and have nap times. Like, elderly people have nap times. Children have nap times. I don't know how you exist in the middle, and that makes it somehow.
Dude, white supremacists take naps.
Oh, no! My head explodes. But with my head exploding, everyone, we're at the top of the hour, and thus the end of the show. Yes, I know it came on quick, because usually we're doing half an hour of questions, but yes, I ate into that time with a little TED Excellence. If you'd like to see some more long-form TED Excellence, you can find that on Thursday on this channel at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where I will pick one of the several I have listed off earlier. Might be the most mysterious one, just to find out how humanity has died in this person's viewpoint. But otherwise, look for me then. Look for us for the next Lords of the Night tomorrow night on Satsu's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we'll talk about more news and more stuff and more things you guys have to say. Satsu, you do anything after this?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I am going to bed after this because I have to get up in the morning and do work stuff. Yay! But
Hooray.
that aside, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Chicago Mike at the 11th hour, thank you for the donation and the super sticker, which will show up now. Dogcat Fox waving bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dogcat Fox. Right, Dogcat Fox? Wowie, wow, wow. Dogcat Fox says bye-bye. And everyone who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. With that, everyone, I hope you are all safe and well. Hope you have a good rest of your week if we don't see you again tomorrow. And Satsu, thank you for joining me.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, your lives make us sad, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
And taking out my copy of Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, the romance and sexual sorcery of sadomasochism. Today's secret word is abandoned.
Abandoned.
Yes. All logic and rationale was abandoned when I played that TEDx.
Yep.